gummy bear.
It's the internet, you're busy, let's do this for July 11th, 2022. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, I didn't update this thing. Today, it's Monday, so we're going to talk about some video game news. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Mike Minotti from GameSpeed, everybody. Woo! Hooray,
Hello.
Mike. How are you doing?
Hey, good. My nose started itching as soon as you started doing the countdown, and I was like, "Oh my god, I need to scratch my nose." And it's the first thing people are gonna see.
You know what? It's always better to just point it out. Now it's all I can see, Mike. So
Yeah, everyone just stare at my schnauzer and count how many times I need to touch it during this show.
Mine started itching during the show the other day, and then it's all I could think about. And I'm like, oh, this is how Mike Minotti feels all the time.
Yes, I shouldn't talk about it because it's just like itchier all the time. I need to get like, I don't know. They need to make a device I could put on my nose. And it'll look like a James Bond villain. It just kind of like gently massages and scratches it the entire time.
Right. You want to look syphilitic. Absolutely. That's always a good look to go for.
Well, isn't that a fancy college word there? Especially for someone who never went to college, Jeff.
Well, just like all I think about is like syphilis is all I ever think about, Mike.
All I think about is syphilis. That sounds like a song from the 2000s. All I ever think about is syphilis.
On YouTube, if you like swear in the first like minute or two or whatever, it like will lower your ranking in the algorithm.
Oh, no.
Do you think syphilis counts?
Jeff, how much lower could we possibly go? You should name this show after syphilis.
Yes, absolutely. That way, YouTube will know what to expect from it every Monday.
The cover art should just be like a zoom in on the syphilis strain.
Yes, exactly. And then what's the Chicago gangster's nose who had syphilis and had like a fake nose or whatever? Exactly. It'll be just like that.
Yes.
All right. Before we get into before we continue the mess, let's explain ourselves.
It's already been a mess.
It's already been a mess. Each weekday, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news, the catch-up, where we discuss the biggest topics consuming the lives of gamers everywhere, and maybe even bring some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert or Mike. And they'll make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. If you're watching there, thank you. Hit the like button. It helps people find the show. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Hideo Kojima is considering legal action against news groups that accused him of killing former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. So, tragic event here where the former Prime Minister of Japan was literally assassinated. This is something where I'm like, I was kind of half paying attention to the news, and then I saw this. I'm like, what is even happening? And like, and then I had to go back to my life, and I kind of caught up on it later. But when I was catching up on it later, Hideo Kojima was trending on Twitter because apparently some people misidentified him as the person responsible for the assassination. Let's see. Let's go over to news assets. Take a look at this tweet from him. Well, this is from Kojima Productions. They say Kojima Productions strongly condemns the spread of fake news and rumors that convey false information. We do not tolerate such libel and will consider taking legal action in some cases. This is a wild situation. So basically what happened here is, let's check out this tweet. In a now deleted tweet, this comes from Knoxdawn on Twitter, French far-right politician Damien Roux accused the far left of murdering Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and used photos of game developer Hideo Kojima instead of pictures of the current suspect Tetsuya Yamagami. These tweets, basically, it sounds like Damien Roux saw pictures posted as a joke on a forum or something, and he must have Googled like who was responsible. Maybe this came up, and he took it as truth, and then posted on Twitter, and then it spread really fast from there. This is a nightmare scenario, Mike. This is just it's kind of thing where if it wasn't about the assassination of a human, it's almost like, okay, this is another massive, insane thing involving Kojima. This weird thing. Of course, it would happen to him, but it's just impossible to even joke about, right?
Yeah, it's bizarre, and then this spread the kind of fake news more. A news station in Greece picked up on it and like did a segment with these pictures of Kojima. Uh, yeah, you know what? If I was Hideo Kojima, I would definitely pursue legal action here. I
Yeah,
wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, God, making jokes and poor taste about Hideo Kojima is usually our job, Jeff. But there is a line.
there is a line. Absolutely, it's the kind of thing
Here we
where
go.
I did it again. I hit the wrong thing. Let's go to do it vertical. There we go.
I believe in you.
Yes. It's the kind of thing where it's like you couldn't even make something like this up. When it happens in reality, it's almost so far beyond the kind of farce that I would normally associate with like jokes I would make about Hideo Kojima. That's just like, oh, what is happening here? I hope that they do end up taking some legal action against the people responsible for spreading this, because it's the kind of thing where it's gonna probably follow Kojima for quite some time, where you're gonna Google it and this kind of stuff's gonna pop up. And it's going to turn into like probably not a long-term problem for him, but I wouldn't want to have to deal with this, and I'm sure Kojima doesn't want to either.
Yes, it is an actual legal issue, and this Damien Rue, when he apologized, is like, oh, I naively took a joke for information. I couldn't even imagine that people would joke about something like this on Twitter. It's like, have you really been on Twitter? Have you actually looked around? Of course, people are gonna joke. Like, you have to be the most careful right now.
Yeah, and it's like on Twitter, it's very easy to just put out a tweet. Like a news station in Greece, like kind of doing the same thing, is even more. I guess it's not too surprising because you're rushing. It's you see a politician posting it. Maybe like it's easy to like just make those mistakes, but the point of a newsroom is people are supposed to stop and fact check. And yeah, none of that happened here. And it led to a situation where, if anyone being falsely accused is troublesome, but when it's someone who has some notoriety, it's the kind of thing where, they're probably going to sue you. We're probably going to have to deal with some consequences here, and justly so. Now, I don't know what the libel laws are like in Greece. I wonder if if Kojima were to sue them for that, like where he would like sue them at. Would he sue them in Greece, or would he have to like sue them like in Japan or something like that? But I think even just the threat is like that he's making here as saying like, hey, there should be consequences there, could potentially be enough to make a company that that was responsible for this news report to rethink how they do things and hopefully not make mistakes like this again in the future.
Probably not. They're probably going to continue want to be faster, faster, faster. We saw a thing on Twitter. Look, here's pictures of the killer. Faster, faster.
Exactly. We'll stay with this story. If anything happens with Kojima and filing lawsuit, we'll update you here on Game Mess Mornings. Sorry. Until then, though, it's just a wild thing that happened. It's unbelievable, and we'll move on. Nintendo is updating its patent that aims to upscale low-res images via machine learning. This comes from Raw Meat Cowboy at Go Nintendo. Nintendo had previously filed a patent for how to take low-res images and up-res them using machine learning. Similar, it sounds a lot like DLSS, but they filed this back in 2020, and now they have they've updated it recently, which is like adding fuel to the fire that they might be doing something with this technology pretty soon. Let's check out the patent here. They've been slowly updating this patent for a couple of years now. This most recent update was on July 5th. And the patent, I'll just read from the abstract here. This is: a computer system is provided for converting images through use of a trained neural network. A source image is divided into blocks, and context data is added to each pixel block. The context blocks are split into channels, and each channel from the same context block is added to the same activation matrix. The action matrix is then executed against a trained neural network to produce a changed activation matrix. The changed activation matrix is then used to generate a converted image.
Oh, that's a lot of work for Tron and his friends inside.
Yes,
the computer.
exactly. Yes, Jeff in there inside the Tron machine is doing a lot of hard work. Basically, what this is just saying that they can add sort of trained neural network models to a GPU. And then when they are running a game on that GPU, the GPU can use that training to take the image, understand what it is, understand what it would be if it was higher resolution, add that using these matrices, and then output that image. And I mean, it is very similar to what DLSS is, which makes me wonder, like, what is the difference between this patent and NVIDIA's patent for DLSS? I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. But, you know, the bigger story here is Nintendo going to actively use this stuff? We've heard reports that Nintendo is going to have some DLSS model, whether that's a Switch Pro or Switch 2. Is this the kind of thing that you expect to be like the key marketing feature of the next Switch, sort of no matter what it is?
Yeah, I guess I wonder, like, what's the buzzword for it, right? Because DLSS, is, if I can't remember those are the letters, that's not as publicly known as some of these other things, right? Like me and you have like laughed before about the idea of a 4K Switch because it's unnecessary, but at least the public knows what 4K is, right?
Right.
They almost would need to like invent a word for it again, like blast processing or mode 7 or whatever, to actually get people to understand what this is doing.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't be surprised if they go with like Switch 4K, something
Switch
like
4,
that.
yeah.
Like that's the
Action
name.
Matrix. They should just jump onto this Action Matrix. And that should be what it's called. Yeah,
Yes.
Switch Action Matrix.
I like it. Whether or not this stuff is exactly what Nintendo ends up using, they file patents like this all the time. It's very likely that they'll probably just end up using DLSS since NVIDIA is their key hardware partner. They've been partnered with them for years now, and they said at the time when they first started their deal together that they were going to have a deal for 20 years into the future. So obviously they're going to continue working together on the next system as well. That's no surprise. DLSS requires a little bit more power though, so I wonder if like they are like looking at ways of doing that without having to fully upgrade. Like maybe this is a solution for the original Switch if we do get a Switch Pro, and if that Switch Pro is big, like has DLSS, like maybe like, well, we can add this stuff to our original hardware, and maybe that'll be a way of sort of letting the old Switch last longer. Now, I'm not super interested in that. We ran a poll on the show last week asking people like how they're feeling about like wanting to start a new generation from Nintendo or elongating it with a Switch Pro. Most people want to start a new generation with Switch 2, but like who knows what Nintendo's going to end up deciding, right?
Right, exactly. Because they're gonna, the Switch has been one of their most popular systems ever. That's a lot of people who have one. It's always a scary thing starting a new generation. I mean, they saw the giant issue they had going from the Wii to the Wii U. So even though it seems like, of course, the next system is going to be a hit, they are probably kind of terrified about it right now. And you're right; they're probably finding ways to maybe keep all those people who own Switches buying new games again. Right? They almost want like the old days back when they were able to release games for the NES in like 1992 and 1993, well after the Super Nintendo already came out. But the market is just so different now. You have to kind of find some ways to put that to MacGyver your old system, I guess, and maybe that's what this is.
Yeah, maybe. That's just speculation, but it's the kind of thing where why is Nintendo doing this separate from NVIDIA? I mean, obviously they just might be researching it and they figured something out and they were able to patent it. So maybe it's as simple as that. But maybe there are other explanations. It's hard to say. I do still think that we will get some sort of word from Nintendo about like what their plans are for the future here in the relatively near future, whether or not that's a Switch Pro or Switch 2, or if it's just them saying to investors, hey, we've begun like the transition, and that transition is going to take years, but we've begun it. I think they will begin having those conversations here publicly pretty soon. And maybe that gives us some more insight into exactly what is happening here.
I mean, the main problem with the old Switch is performance. It's frame rate anyways, right? So I don't know how much this is going to help. Well, we have a crisper image at 15 frames per second now. Great.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's a lot of this patent talks about 540p and going to 1080p. So that's maybe, again, I might be reading into this. This stuff is placeholder for a patent a lot of the time. But for me, that's like, oh, well, maybe you run it on the original Switches at 540p, and then you can upgrade it to 1080p and still keep 60 frames per second that you get from running at 540p. But I don't know. Like, I don't even know if this stuff would be able to run on that original Switch hardware. It's hard to say. Like, for example, DLSS needs just a touch more power, like I was saying earlier, than what the Switch offers. So they would need basically a new chip to be able to run DLSS on a new Switch. It wouldn't be able to just backport DLSS to what the Switch currently has. So maybe it makes some sense. Assassin's Creed Liberation's Steam page suggests it will soon be unplayable even by owners. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. Assassin's Creed Liberation HD will no longer be playable on PC as of September 1st, according to its Steam listing. The game has already been removed from sale, and according to a message on its Steam page, it seems players will no longer be able to even boot the game from September onwards. At the request of the publisher, this is a quote from the Steam page, Assassin's Creed Liberation HD is no longer available for sale on Steam. Please note this title will not be accessible following September 1st, 2022. Ubisoft gave VGC the following statement regarding its recent run of decommissioned games. We don't take the decision to retire services for older Ubisoft games lightly, and our teams are currently assessing all available options for players who will be impacted when these games' online services are decommissioned on September 1st, 2022. We are also working with our partners to update this information across all storefronts, so players will be fully informed about the removal of online services at the point of purchase, as well as via our support article where we shared the news.
Right, but like this isn't just about the they said before that they were going to get rid of the online service for Liberty.
Yes.
Like, who cares? Whatever. Why are you going to stop selling the game and making it inaccessible through that standalone version? Now there is a version of Assassin's Creed 3 that does just come with it, but like you know, you're gonna have to buy it again. And apparently Liberation was even on sale during the Steam summer sale. Like this version that's going to go away. This seems bonkers, right? It's one thing to stop selling a game on Steam to make it so that you can't access it anymore. And this is from one of the first companies that wanted to talk about NFTs too, Jeff. They're the ones showing us how completely immaterial digital ownership can be. Yeah. How incredible.
It's kind of, you're right. It's bonkers. I mean, there must be some online portion that causes the whole game to break. That's my only guess here.
It can't be, because then it's still playable on that Assassin's Creed 3 version, right?
Right.
I mean, look, if it's that bad and you have to do it, then just give everybody who owns it access to that Assassin's Creed 3 version.
Right.
Then.
I mean, either do that or take that version and extract it from Assassin's Creed 3 and make that just give people that version of the game, whatever. But do some work here and don't do this. Don't take a game that people bought and make it inaccessible. That's like crossing a line. I think that publishers and like places like Valve, they've known that this is a red line for a very long time. And now this feels to me like they're getting complacent. They're like, people will just, at this point, will understand that sometimes this is going to happen. And I think that what's going to happen here is there's probably going to be sort of some outrage, and Ubisoft will have to figure something out here, which is the right thing. The right way to handle this, unfortunately, is kind of yell at Ubisoft a little bit, because this is, I've gone all digital, and whenever this stuff like this happens, people are like, well, this is why you buy your games physical. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But, you know, physical things degrade as well. Physical things don't last forever either. But it's not like this. It's not like suddenly one day the publisher gets to decide to pull the plug on it, right? So if you take care of your things, they will last for a very long time. This feels like having the rug pulled out from underneath you in a way that even when it's like a small, off to the side Assassin's Creed game, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, it is. Tom Payne in chat is saying that apparently the one with 3 is the one that's shutting down. I've seen people say separate things. I think everyone, I don't know. It is confusing.
It's confusing.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand. I think a lot of people don't understand. Maybe even Ubisoft doesn't understand what's going on here. But it is just a bizarre move to completely delist a game. I mean, even when Fall Guys left Steam, right? And it did so for a reason, at least we understood. The Epic Games bought that studio, so it's going to the Epic Game Store. I could still run Fall games on my Steam. They didn't make it so it just doesn't work anymore. Right.
It's the kind of thing where if you don't sort of stamp this out immediately when it happens, I mean, at a certain point, it's like Valve should step in here and do something, because this hurts the reputation of Steam.
But they're not happy.
Yeah. You hope that like enough people recognize that the success, like digital games went from something that very few people engaged with to being like the dominant form of purchasing games. And now that's what it feels like. They've like, okay, there's so much momentum behind it. We can sort of do whatever. I still think there's like a chance that, you know, if they don't deal with the situation, it could backfire in their faces. And so hopefully they do something about it. Respawn is recruiting for a single player first person shooter game set in the Apex Legends universe. This is by Andy Robinson at VGC.
How do you feel about the words the Apex Legends universe, Jeff?
I feel like it's very specifically not the Titanfall universe. That's odd because weren't they the same thing?
I guess which was much more popular.
Yes, exactly. As spotted by Dexerto, several job listings for Respawn's Apex Universe first-person shooter incubation project have appeared, describing the in-development game as a brand new Respawn single-player adventure. This new single-player title is a developer's dream. This is a quote from the job listing. Excuse me. It's a developer's dream playground with the freedom to innovate made possible by the unique universe it inhabits, one job ad reads. It's unclear if the project is related to the unannounced single-player project Respawn first confirmed when it was working on last year. According to a GamesBeat report earlier this year, that title is a first-person shooter being built around the guiding principles of mobility and style, but it isn't a Titanfall sequel.
That was your report, wasn't it?
That was my report.
You used to work with me?
Yes. So let's stop here and just confirm 100% this is that game. This is that single-player game that Respawn was working on. They've begun basically saying it's in the Apex Legends universe as part of that thing we've seen happen a lot over the last year where developers sort of come out and confirm the game they're working on a little bit more firmly as part of like hoping to recruit people to come work on the game, right? So that this is part of that. Like they weren't ever gonna say it was in the Apex Legends universe. They were gonna wait until they had more to show, but they want to recruit people and they want people who are excited to work on the Apex Legends games. I am still really excited about this, even though it very specifically is not going to be Titanfall 3.
But it's even weirder that it's not a Titanfall sequel when it takes place in the same universe as the Titanfall games do now, right? So
yes, like how is it I mean, it's not like I don't want people to get any sort of mixture in the head. I've been told so explicitly this is not going to be Titanfall 3.
What you mean by that is you're not going to be in giant robots in this game.
Yes, it's going to be like, it's going to take stuff from Apex Legends. It's not going to be worried about like trying to follow up the lineage of what Titanfall was. I'm still really excited about this. I think Respawn is one of my favorite developers for, since they started. This is the kind of thing where it's like, oh, they get to just experiment in the first-person shooter single-player game space. Like, I wasn't expecting that. Like, once I started hearing about this game, it was, like, immediately exciting. But having it be like, oh, they're going to be able to make a single-player game because Apex Legends is so popular and makes so much money. Well, that's awesome. And they call it an incubation project. This is the way that Respawn makes games. They're just prototyping for years, trying to figure out how to make it as fun as possible. At its heart, it's gonna have that same spirit as a Titanfall, even if it's not gonna be called Titanfall, and really it won't be Titanfall at all. So I'm really excited about this.
Is it gonna be called the Apex Legends?
Yes, yes. It'll just be called not Titanfall, shitheads. So.
Yeah. Stop yelling.
Yeah, stop. You're not getting one of those. I mean, I don't know. People like Abs B says again, EA just leaving money on the table. I don't know, like Apex.
Are they
Legends.
actually?
Yeah.
Like I can criticize them a lot about how I'd rather have Titanfall 3. This might actually be the much smarter financial move. Again, Apex Legends has made them probably much more money than Titanfall 1 and 2 combined ever did.
I think that's right. And mobility and style, those are things I think the studio is really good at. I would be very excited to see them express that in a single-player game built in the Apex Legends universe.
I guess the bright side is when I actually think about my favorite moments from Titanfall 2, not that many of them involve being inside the giant robot, right?
I really liked my relationship with what's his name, B2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And
not Optimus Prime.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And I like when he threw me. That was awesome. That was one of the best gaming moments ever. And look, there's times where it's like the robot is like running beside you and doing something while you're shooting, and then when you come back together, like that does feel like a climactic moment. But you're right, the best parts of that game are when you're running around and you feel like a first-person Jedi or whatever, and you're
when it's kind of Mirror's Edgy but with guns.
BT, thank you, chat. BT,
God. Yes. Remember his name, Jeff.
Why should I love him? I should get some BT.
Yeah, you love him so much you don't know his name.
Listen, Mike, I can't remember your name half the time, and I don't love you, so let's be clear.
Fair enough.
Xbox Series has already...
You know who else can't remember my goddamn name?
Xbox Series has already sold more than double Xbox One in Japan. Data published by Famitsu indicates that as of July 3rd, Xbox Series X and S have sold some 260 and 504,000 units. 260, 504,000 units.
You put a weird space in here that's messing you up.
It is messing me up. Yes, basically 260,000 units. And that's according to the same source. Microsoft's previous Xbox One console sold around 114,000 units, around 115,000 units in its lifetime. So already double that for the Xbox Series XS. That's pretty impressive. We're only 2 years, about nearly 2 full years into this generation. Now, it's still not the best selling Xbox ever in Japan. That is the Xbox 360 with 1.6 million units sold over its lifetime. It seems like this is probably going to just get to there, right?
Right, and they did a lot of work to get the Xbox 360 to sell that much in Japan, right? They
That's
made
true.
those Mistwalker deals. They had Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey. They had a Tales game. They got a lot of JRPGs on there. They made sure Final Fantasy 13 was cross-platform, things like that. And this, they seem like they're on that road already without having to do any of that work. And again, like these days, we know that the Japanese market for console gaming isn't nearly as important as it once was.
Yes, I think that Microsoft probably won't do exactly the same strategy because Japan in general cares less about console gaming, and it's probably a little bit more difficult to make those deals because a lot of those developers move on to work on mobile or whatever, or already have existing deals with companies like Sony. So Microsoft making a bunch of JRPGs to appeal to that audience is probably wouldn't work as well anyhow. And it seems like the system doesn't super duper need it. This is like way better than I would have expected for the Xbox Series X and S, especially after like the One, and even the PlayStation 4 was like sort of not struggling, but not selling nearly as fast there as it was everywhere else in the world. So, this is probably just a nice thing for Xbox. Now, it's outsold the PlayStation 5 like a couple of times in Japan. That has nothing to do with demand. It's all about supply, and it continues to be the case. So, yeah. Returnal's Steam listing continues to get updates ahead of a possible reveal. The Steam database entry for what is almost certainly Returnal continues to receive regular updates as an eventual reveal appears to be all but guaranteed. In May, SteamDB logged the presence of a new product in the database which goes by the codename Oregon. While it wasn't immediately clear what the game is, certain localization strings in the game's listing make it clear that it's a PC port of Returnal. Now the site's history page shows that the in-development game continues to get new builds on a daily basis. So some of those localization strings, by the way, are Atropos and Tower of Sisyphus, in Helios. Yes, Tower of Syphilis and in Helios, and returning, making the game's identity pretty clear. So just get yourself some antibiotics that'll help clear that all up.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that Returnal is going to come to probably PC before the end of this year. Think back to Sony saying they were going to make $300 million in revenue on PC this fiscal year, and that was like more than double what they made in the previous years. Obviously, a lot of that's going to come down to finally launching Uncharted, and there's a few other things.
Eventually.
Yes, eventually, whenever that happens. And then they're probably going to launch some of their free-to-play games like simultaneously on PC. Those will make a big dent. But they're probably going to put a lot of PS5 games onto PC and pretty quickly here. When do you think that really starts happening? Returnal is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Mm-hmm. So that'd be pretty quick. Their past cadence was about 3 years or more before moving a game from PlayStation to PC. If it happens before let's say November, that'll be 2 years, a year and a half. Yeah, a year and a half for Returnal. So that's pretty quick.
That's pretty quick, but also feels plenty of time, right? It seems like everybody who wanted to get Returnal on a PlayStation 5. You're sure, of course, there's going to be people who get PlayStation 5 still and are maybe going to get it there, right? But there aren't going to be a ton of people who are getting it on PC, and now because of that, they're never buying it on PlayStation 5 or never have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I think we can start moving a little bit faster on this stuff. And Returnal absolutely seems prime for and I don't want to say smaller game because I know it's a full price game and all that stuff, but for something of this scale,
right?
Why not get it over to PC a little bit faster? Jeff, I do think it's messed up that you can co-name a video game Oregon as if that isn't just completely taken already in the video game space. What Zoomers decided that they can just codename this Oregon as if as if real gamers like us didn't grow up playing Oregon Trail in computer class.
You're right.
In the 3rd grade, right? Like, how dare they?
Do you think, like, I'm trying to imagine, like, is there any lineage they're thinking there? Like, this game is like the spiritual successor to Oregon Trail, and no, there's nothing.
Dysentery at some point.
Well, I guess Oregon Trail is kind of like a roguelite, right? Like, because you go as far as you can, then you die, and you have to start over.
Man, now you're really messing with me. Is Oregon Trail a roguelite? Damn,
I didn't mean to derail the show. Yeah,
I liked Oregon Trail 2, the one that was like a CD-ROM game, and it had like some FMV and stuff.
Okay.
Like
Chat's mad at how we're pronouncing Oregon. So Oregon.
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 That's like Porygon, the evolution of Polygon. Or
Oregano.
Oregano
Trail. That's
the Oregon Trail.
Just like a mama used to make.
We gotta pack up the kids. Wait, why am I Italian? Why are they Italian? They might be Italian because we gotta go to an Oregon on the trail.
I think I felt like I said it pretty good the first time. Oregon. Fuck, it's lost.
I felt pretty good about the time I said it.
Yeah, but the chat was being very mean to us.
I agree with that. Yeah, come on, guys. It's easy for you because you don't even have to pronounce it. Not even Dan's correcting us.
I can't have that. Jesus Christ.
Give me a break.
All right, let's get to the catch-up. Capcom held an Exoprimal network test. So I guess you could see gameplay of that now if you really want to. I'm going to click over to that for us real quick. Let's...
oh, no.
It looks, I don't know, it looks like one of those mini online shooters. It looks like...
oh, man. Yeah, way too much like neon stuff. The lighting's just all over the place. There's, look, it's Reinhardt. Guys are Reinhardt shield. That's funny. And I mean, it does tickle my fancy a bit that it looks like a generic online shooter, and then there's just a Triceratops running around. Yeah,
like,
for
sure.
Funny.
That works a little bit. And there's a lot of dinosaurs there. That's pretty cool. But, there's a character playing as the healer, and obviously someone playing as a tank and stuff like that. Like, they're like
a Reinhardt, literally.
Literally a Reinhardt. So, it just is one of those. That doesn't mean it can't be good. It's just I'm just having a hard time getting super excited about it. Shooting Triceratops are just inherently cool, so that is working for me.
I guess I'm more excited for this than hyenas.
Yes, I suppose so. But it does like I don't know. I bet you could show me if you took out the dinosaurs. I bet you could show me both, and I wouldn't be able to guess which one's which. That's why we're at with these.
I guess maybe that's why they're like, we've got to throw dinosaurs into this generic ass looter shooter thing we came up with. We got to do something. We can't just do aliens or robots again in this, or else we're screwed.
And like, what can we have a lot of? But yeah, it's like, well, yeah, there's like a couple things. You can have a lot of Nazis, a lot of zombies, a lot of robots.
Probably thought ants, and they were like, shit, that's already a game series.
Yes, yeah. Although, hey, just do an online version of Earth Defense Force. I'd play that.
Yeah, it might be fun.
I'm gonna leave this on while we talk about this next one. Hitman 3's new Ambrose Island map, dated with location reveal trailer.
Oh,
the new map, which is shown off in the trailer below, will be released as a free update on July 26th. The tropical island is a hidden cove, home to dangerous pirate syndicate operating in the Andaman Sea, and to many hidden secrets. This fully explorable sandbox location is packed with new targets, gameplay opportunities, challenges, unlockable rewards, and is free for all owners of Hitman 3. IO has previously said the new map will have an intriguing narrative for Hitman fans, as it takes place before the events of Hitman 3 and fills in a few gaps from the World of Assassination storyline. So, Mike, I spent much of my life trying to convince you to finally play Hitman, and you had in the last couple of years. And are you at a point where like hearing about a new map gets you excited to get back to Hitman?
Yes.
Me too.
Absolutely. I'm super stoked about this. I mean, the two DLC maps after Hitman 2 are some of the best maps in the trilogy, right? That New York bank,
yes,
and that island resort are incredible. So yeah, I'm super. It seems like they're able to get even more creative than usual sometimes with these. This definitely seems like it has some potential. I bet at some point we get to go on a treasure hunt, right?
Yeah,
like, come on,
exactly. Yes.
Pirate Island, we have to be able to go on a treasure hunt. So
and it also seems like this is a great like sandbox for them, literally to prototype ideas that they could use in James Bond and whatever else they're working on. Like, hey, yeah, come up with some ideas, experiment with them here. It's free DLC. Like, we can only complain so much. Like, I hope it's like just a really solid Hitman map, but I also hope it continues to be them figuring out their future, which is like a big part of what Hitman 3 felt like, and it really works for me. People are saying play this on the site. I'm going to be playing Hitman a lot on the site because like whenever there's not something new on
trailer, maybe. Do they mean the trailer right now, or do they mean play the game on the site?
No, they want us to play the video game
that would
on
be
the site.
fun.
Yes, I will. I mean, I almost considered just playing Hitman on UPF last week. So
Hitman days.
Yeah. I mean, I love doing escalation missions, so maybe we'll figure out some stuff to do with that.
My problem now, Jeff, is that I got my Steam Deck, and part of me like wants to just play this game on my Steam Deck.
It's really good on Steam Deck.
Yeah, but that's like a big, because in my mind, I can't just have one. I have to have Hitman 3 and those 2 passes that give you all the old maps, and that's like together probably a $200 purchase or something, right?
No, because I think if you get Hitman, I don't know, it's not that much.
I don't think
it's not that expensive, but fair enough. Also, hit me up. I should put you on my family account on Steam because
well, maybe we'll see. I just look, I'm very excited for this. Hitman's great. Just give me more levels. I wish that part of me almost wishes that original episodic model worked out from Hitman 1. We just kept getting new levels like every 2 months or every few months or so. But this will do fine.
Well, I mean, this is the kind of thing where they didn't mention any new maps are coming when they first started talking about the roadmap for Hitman 3, and it did so well that I think they felt like they had to, which to me is just a win-win-win, where it's like, okay, the game is selling so well, and then that means we're going to get new stuff. So obviously they feel good about the game. I feel good about the game. I love Hitman 3, so this is just fantastic stuff for me. All right, Mike, there was some hubbub. People continue to be mad about $70 games, and then other people are mad that people continue to be mad about $70 games.
What? No way.
Like, the most common thing I see now is people are like, you don't have to pay $70 if you don't want to. Quit talking about this. And I've seen that like tweet basically like 4 times over the weekend. I guess I wanted to just check in with you, Mike. How are you feeling about the jump to 70 now that we're so far into the generation?
I don't know. I guess I have some acceptance of it at this point, right? I mean, I get it if people think it is expensive and it's a jump, especially now because everyone's hurting a little bit, right? The economy is in the dumps a bit, sure. But there's a lot of points that people have repeated, Jeff, how we had $60 games for a very long time. A jump was going to happen. I think there are specific instances that make it feel bad, like Last of Us Part 1 being $70, and the original wasn't, and the original came with a multiplayer
physical
mode.
version. Psychonauts 2 is getting a physical version, and that's going to be $70. That's from Last Run, so it's like made for collectors. So it's like I don't even consider that like part of this. It feels like so separate from this whole $70 discussion a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Caddy Puss said this in chat. I'm old enough to remember when like there was like a really wide range of prices for games like on the SNES, like RPGs, which just cost a lot more. In my mind, Super Mario RPG was like $100 or something like that because it was like more megabits or whatever.
Yeah, I remember like thinking every game was $50, and then my parents being like, "No, look at this Toys R Us ad, and some of these are like $80." I'm like, "What the hell?" And like that being a really startling realization during the Super Nintendo and N64 era, especially during late Super Nintendo. But I'm mostly just over this. I think the subscription models on both systems now really help. I mean, especially on Sony, this is where you're going to get most of the $70 games, although there absolutely are $70 Call of Duty games on Xbox and stuff like that. But I think the PlayStation Plus Extra is so good for giving you a lot of games that you probably haven't played. Well, now you have a beefy backlog. Go play that stuff instead and wait until these games go down in price. They always do. If you're not talking about Nintendo, all these games always go down in price. Now, they might not go down to $20, but a lot of them are going to go down to $45 within the first year. So just have a little bit of patience and you'll be fine. It's just hard not to be like, yeah, this is the way things work. It sucks. If you want to complain about it, go ahead. It seems like the deal is done. The toothpaste is out of the tube. There's no one doing this. So complaining about it does feel a little bit like just yelling at a wall. But hey, I'm not going to tell anybody not to criticize something. Criticize it all you want. But at a certain point, it might just be better for your own mental health to be like, I'll just wait. I just won't pay it. This will be a personal decision and I'll move on.
Esteban kind of brought up something interesting in chat. Like, when does Nintendo start doing $70 games? That's when it's really here to stay. Well,
maybe that's maybe it's part of the whole reason that they are struggling figuring out how to like present everything, right? Because we talk about like, how do they move from one console to the next when the Switch is so successful and they're not sure maybe if they're going to do a Pro or a Switch 2 or something. Maybe they're also like, we really should be charging $70 for Breath of the Wild 2. How do we navigate that? Like, it feels like to do that, it would have to be on the Switch 2, but maybe they're not ready for that. I don't know.
They were still doing $50 games for a while on the Wii back
Yes.
when most things were $60, right?
Right, yes. But I mean, I think it's them looking around and be like, Returnal launched for 70. Well, we're really going to launch Breath of the Wild 2 for 60, less than Returnal. I could just see them having that sort of logic about it, but we'll see.
Do you think Nintendo knows what a Returnal is?
Yeah, that might be a good point too. maybe they don't know. I think when it comes down to the value proposition, I think they probably assume that they should be the top valued game in terms of like how much they cost when they launch, because they keep their prices high for forever. I think this is just part of a little bit of a pride thing for them at a certain point, even if it also is a very good business strategy that has worked for them very well. Okay, last week I asked, which is more likely to win the Keighley Game of the Year this year, Elden Ring or any other game that came out? And let's see here. The results, 82% said Elden Ring. Yeah. 18% said any other game. Mike, where are you at with this?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be Elden Ring.
Yeah, it's
I'm trying to think what else. I mean, like what else is coming out that can really contend? God of War, I'm sure it's going to be nominated.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine it's going to win because in some sense, I bet it's going to be a good sequel, but it is by default going to be a lot of more of the same, which isn't necessarily a problem. But that doesn't usually get you Game of the Year, right?
I think that because it's the conclusion, I think if it really turns people into a mess of being like, this story was so powerful and so moving, that is the one way I could see it like sneaking in there. Marino in chat asked, is it before the cutoff? It is. And also they will fully understand the value of pushing that game out to the press and making sure everyone has a copy and saying, hey, make sure you play it before the Game of the Year thing. And remember, you can update your ballot if you need to. If you already sent it in, you could update your ballot if you just play God of War. Sony is very mindful of of that entire process. So they will make sure that it gets nominated. I think that Elden Ring is kind of guaranteed, though. It's just hard. It's like there's too much love from in the people who vote. And I think From's last two games won Game of the Year when they came out, right? Something like that. I know Sekiro did.
And games that have a tie to the Game Awards or to Keighley seem to have some kind of help here. Like It Takes Two won last year.
Yeah.
And that has a tie. And didn't Death Stranding actually win Game of the Year?
Death Stranding did not.
Awards?
Death Stranding did not.
Okay, no. I made that up. I think
it did get nominated, though. It got nominated, and that game came out right at the cutoff. So, but if you remember, Death Stranding is the reason that I know Sony knows how the process works, because they sent us out codes super early. They said, hey, does everyone on staff need code to like make sure that they can nominate for Game of the Year if they want to? Like, they were very aggressive about that stuff. So they'll do the same thing with God of War, of course.
I'm glad you corrected me. I've almost started spreading my own Kojima fake news. Saying he has awards that he didn't win.
Yes, how dare you? What did win that year? I can't remember. I'm not gonna be able to remember.
That's a good question. I'll bring that up.
Okay. Let's see. I wanted to do another tweet for the poll on Wednesday, actually. Let's see. What did I have here? I wanted to say, do you expect PlayStation first-party games to come to PC under 2 years in the future? What do you think about that, Mike?
I think at some point it's gonna. I'm pretty curious to see when Tsushima gets on there, how long that one is going to take.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a big bellwether, right? Where that was a big game, late PS4. It feels like they're immediately going to a Ghost of Tsushima 2. It feels like the kind of thing that they should put on PC relatively soon to kind of keep that momentum going. But we'll see. I mean, they did a PS5 native version, right? That process already happened. So
yes,
it feels like what's left to do is to release a version for PC. Although we're getting pretty close to 2-3 years for that. So probably should
that one's
going to
probably just fall into the time frame.
Yeah.
It might be more interesting with God of War 2, since the first one has already been on PC and is doing well. Let's see how long it takes for Ragnarok to get to PC, right?
Yes.
Apparently, Jeff, actually 2019 when Sekiro 1 was also the year Death Stranding came out. So we answered our own question really with that one.
Okay.
Look at this. Maybe Resident Evil 2 should have won that year. I don't know. I can't. I'm still kind of mad in 2020 that Last of Us Part 2 won over Hades, actually, and even Final Fantasy 7 Remake.
Yeah.
Oh, what if Last of Us Part 1 wins this year? Oh God. No way. No way. Right? No way, please.
No, that would be no. There's no way. There's no way that's happened. Not in a year with Elden Ring. No chance in hell.
No, you're right. Not in a year with Elden Ring.
All right, let me tag this and then we'll send that. All right, thank you everybody for your patience there. All right.
Jeff, what games do you have in these canvases behind you? They look sharp, but I feel like you have a Donkey Kong Jr. one only to mock me. That you cost us the arcade pit with that once. Suddenly have some great affinity for Donkey. You barely played it. You sucked at it. Now you have some big affinity for Donkey Kong Jr.
I played it. Okay, so the story is, I had played it like a couple times before. I never got past the first level. I was just like, all right, that's interesting, and moved on with my life. And then, of course, it came up in the arcade pit. And, of course, Dan Riker was like, I love this game. I played it a million times. So he just flies right through it while I'm, like, struggling.
Don't forget that I gave you, like, a 2-minute head start because I had Mega Man X.
That's not how I remember it. Anyway, later that day, because I was feeling so terrible about losing. I mean, we would have lost anyhow had we won. But whatever. It was still an embarrassing showing.
Some dignity, Jeff.
Some dignity.
Shred of it. I don't have much. Give me that at least.
In an effort to regain some dignity, I played a lot of Donkey Kong Jr. that day and really kind of fell in love with it. It's really good. And so,
One day too late, Jeff. Okay. What else? I see Outrun. I see Mario 64. What's in between Outrun and Donkey Kong?
It's kind of dark. It's Mike Tyson's Punch Out at night when they're running at night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I like it. There's a few more I got to put up, but I'm happy with those. I had another gameplay scene. It was actually Donkey Kong, but I accidentally ordered it as a mouse pad, so I kind of. I was gonna put that in the Super Mario 64 spot, but I figured that's fine. I got a few others stuff. There's actually, and over there, there's the maps for Super Mario RPG and Super and Link to the Past and stuff. So I like those.
Well, I'm going to try to visit you this weekend so I can get a full tour.
Yes, exactly. I'm looking forward to it. My wife's making me really clean up. I'm like, Mike's a slob. He doesn't care.
Yeah, don't get too fancy for me, please.
All right. What is happening on Giant Bomb this week? It's going to be a week. I don't know. We're going to do the Bombcast tomorrow. I think we have an arcade pit set up for Wednesday. Voicemail dump truck on Thursday. A bunch of quick looks, I'm sure. Keep an eye out on twitter.com/giantbomb for our schedule. I'm actually going right from here to a meeting where we're going to figure out the entire week. So we'll put up a schedule there. Mike, what are you up to this week?
Yeah, I'll be working over at gamesbeat.com. We're going to be busy over there as well. So check us out throughout the week for all the stories we got going there. Yeah, gosh, I haven't even thought about the week yet, Jeff, really. But
I know.
Here we are. It's Monday. Let's go.
Hey, did any news break while we were here? It feels like Monday's kind of getting off to a slow start.
Yeah, I think chat would tell us. It does feel like a slow start, which is kind of nice, knock on wood.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Well, didn't Beyond Good and Evil 2 start like some kind of test today, which is crazy to me. Yeah. So at some point, we're going to find out what kind of game that actually is.
It's going to be a Joseph Gordon-Levitt special. And with that, we are out.
Give me a museum of other people's art that they didn't pay for.
Perfect. Just like JGL would have loved it. All right. Yeah. With that, we are out. Thank you to Mike Minotti. Thanks so much, man, for joining me. Thank you for being the best audience in gaming. Until the next morning mess, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Well, that led absolutely nowhere.